Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Cheyenne, and I am the chairman, and Ethan is the timekeeper. The adjudicator, Mr. McCaskill. The topic of this debate is that free-range eggs aren't all they are cracked up to be. The affirmative team, seated to my right, is from Brighton Secondary School, and the negative team, seated to my left, is from Pembroke School. The speaking time for this debate is 5 minutes. A single warning bell will sound 1 minute before the speaking time, and a double bell will sound when the speaking and the double bell will sound at the speaking time. A continuous bell may be rung 30 seconds after the speaking time, in which the case the speaker must sit down immediately. Please ensure that your mobile phones and other electronic devices are switched off. I declare this debate open and call upon the first affirmative speaker, Hayley Farquhar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chairman. The topic for our debate tonight is that free-range and organic eggs aren't all they're cracked up to be. We, the affirmative team, agree with this statement. We define the topic as free-range, chickens having access to outdoors to roam in daylight hours. Organic, without pesticides, synthetic chemicals, herbicides, fertiliser, hormones and antibiotics, and cracked up to be not everything people expect them to be. Tonight I will be talking to you about how free-range and organic egg starters and how I'll be talking to you about the free-range and organic egg standards and if the consumer is getting the great deal they think they are for the eggs. Second, my second speaker tonight will be talking about the free-range and organic egg and how they pose no health benefits and how organic chickens aren't being treated as well as we think they are. Now, on to my first point. Free-range and organic egg standards. They say we don't really think about them, and we think of free-range as being a great life for chickens, the obvious ethical and moral choice. But is that really true? Think about it. How much do we really know about how the chicken is raised? I'm going to tell you a fact right now. Think about it. This is how much room a chicken gets. 1 square metre in free range according to the Australian government in April 2017. The Federal Register of Legislation issued by the Minister for Small Business has put out rules around what can be classified as free range. Now, the chickens must have meaningful and regular access to outdoor range during daylight hours and during the laying cycle. Hens must be able to forage on the outdoor range and 10,000 hens per hectare. Now a hectare is 10,000 square metres, so that's how much room they get. Well, theoretically of course, the maximum is 10,000, but really if you're going to get the best value for your land space, are you really going to put less chickens in the area? I don't think so. Now, back to the first point. Meaningful and regular access to outdoor range and during daylight and laying cycle. I don't believe that the farmers are going to sit down with the chickens and go, so how much daylight is meaningful for you? Because I doubt the chicken will be able to do much than cluck in answer. So meaningful is more what the farmer believes is meaningful for the chicken. And most of these rules can be interpreted in many different ways. So hens are able to roam and forage on the outdoor range. How big is their outdoor range? What can they forage for? How long can they roam for? It's all up to interpretation. So is free range really as good as we think it is? Now, I will admit that organic does have a lot more strict regulations, but most of them are new. And access to waterproof housing. How big is that housing? Up to interpretation. Sufficient distribution of food and water. Sufficient. Okay, another definition that the farmers can choose. Now there are plenty more examples in the rules of loopholes that people can go through to get the best value, and how is the consumer to know? Well, actually there are quite a few ways that the consumer is supposed to know. Now there are inspections on these farms to make sure that the farms are up to regulation standards, but that's only one inspection after the farm applies. So theoretically, they could scrub up real nice for the inspection and then go back to farming however they please after the inspection is over. So, on to my second point. Are consumers really getting the best deal? Well, let's look at the price of eggs. Organic eggs can be anywhere from $5 to $10. Free range, 5 to 11, and caged, 1 up to 3. Now, we all know, or we all think we know, that caged eggs aren't the great moral decision that we all want to buy in our shops. So we all want to buy free range and organic no matter what the cost, because we believe this is the right thing to do. Chicken rights, right? Animal welfare. But how can we really know? Could the inspection be biased, or the farmers been lying to us? Now there have been many cases of people bludging results, and if I can find it, the ACC, people think that organic and free range are always wonderful, but they aren't always occurring in the same product. For example, free range and organic, although great things, aren't necessarily in the same thing, so they can be mutually exclusive. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for today's debate, as stated by the opposition, is that free-range and organic eggs aren't what they're cracked up to be. We, the negative team, know this to be false. We disagree with the opposition's definition and choose to define the topic differently. We do agree with their point of free-range and organic eggs, and we would, however, like to specify that we are choosing to follow the Australian standards in our definition of free-range and organic. However, we define the term aren't what they're cracked up to be as meaning not fulfilling widely accepted positive claims made about them. The opposition pointed this out as well. But we limit these claims as those made by the egg industry, animal welfare organisations, or scientific authorities, aka stakeholders in the area. Overall, we define the topic as a suggestion that free-range and organic eggs are not as beneficial as a majority of authorities in the subject claim they are. We define the topic like this in order to be more precise with our argument. Before I begin my speech, I'd like to point out some flaws in the opposition's argument. The opposition stated that free-range standards are not that more moral and beneficial as customers are led to believe. Ladies and gentlemen, all of the issues that the opposition brought up in their speech are with the management and execution of free-range farms, not with free-range farms themselves. Yes, free-range farms may need more work. Yes, the rules may need to be stricter. But the concept alone, the fact that farms are trying to be free-range, is still better than alternatives such as cage farms. Moving on. As first speaker today, I'll be discussing with you the validity of the claims made in relation to animal welfare. My second speaker will be exploring with you the human benefit claims, and my third will rebut the opposition and sum up our team case. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to emphasise the fact that today's debate is not about whether we should or shouldn't have free-range or organic eggs. Today's debate is about, however, whether free-range or organic eggs are true to the claims made about them. However, this is far too broad. Any Steve, Jill, or Tom can make a claim about how free-range chickens are as happy as a toddler in the candy aisle, or about how eating only organic eggs gives you super strength and X-ray vision. This is why we, the negative team, limit today's debate to proving that free-range and organic eggs are everything that stakeholders in the area crack them up to be, as I specified in our definition. So, ladies and gentlemen, in order to establish this debate, we first need to figure out exactly what claims are being made. It's my job to prove these claims correct. So, Philip Limbry, Chief Executive of Compassion in World Farming, an animal welfare organisation, tells us a well-run free-range farm or organic farm gives each hen the potential for a decent quality of life. Let's look at the factual evidence of this. Free-range farms operate on the basis that chickens are given access to outdoor areas. Through this, hens are given the chances to roam widely, dust bathe, flap their wings, and socialise with other birds. This is vastly preferable to other forms of egg farming. For example, in battery cage farming, there is less space than an A4-sized rectangle per chicken. Yes, a metre is not good, but surely we can all agree it's better than one A4 piece of paper per chicken. They are also entirely separated from other birds, never leave their enclosure, and have only a wire mesh floor and metal rod to move between. Essentially, the only chickens within the egg industry that are given the chance to act properly, instinctively, and perform their own natural behaviours are those that are free range. The 2016 edition of the RSPCA's documentation of the welfare of hens in cage and cage-free housing systems quotes, "In most ways, the physical health of a chicken benefits from being in a free-range environment." Yet again, there is extensive factual basis for this claim. The Poultry Science Association, a not-for-profit professional organisation, tells us that free-range chickens develop the best musculoskeletal health of all types of farm chickens, not suffering from issues caused by osteoporosis and poor bone strength that other chickens enjoy. Free-range chickens have a lower chance of contracting non-infectious disease, including fat and liver disease, a common affliction in cage chickens. They also are given the opportunity to perform dust bathing. Without the ability to dust bathe, a natural instinct in chickens, their plumage can become dirty, which leads to increased risk of disease and a loss of natural insulation. Free-range farming also can prevent the coming about of foot health issues. Hyperkeratosis, the hypertrophy of feet and toes, occurs commonly in battery cages and is essentially unheard of in a free-range system. Other issues include foot pad dermatitis, the ulceration of the underside of the foot, and bumblefoot, abscesses and swelling of the foot. These are all avoidable through using a free-range system. Sunny Queen Organic Farm quotes, "Our hens are fed 100% organic feed, which not only benefits the customer but the chickens as well." Part of the definition of organic fed chicken is that they are given access to the outdoors, meaning they reap the benefits just as free-range chickens do. In addition to this, many organic fed chickens source a lot of their food naturally from the environment. As mentioned earlier, scratching and foraging for food is a natural chicken instinct and benefits them widely health-wise. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, free-range and organic eggs are everything they're cracked up to be. This is evident through the indisputable direct evidence that the claims being made are true. Thank you.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker, Aidan Damerel.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that free-range and organic eggs aren't all they're cracked up to be. We, the affirmative team, believe the statement to be true. The first speaker of the negative team has tried to tell you in her rebuttal that free-range and organic eggs are more morally right. This is true, however, that is not the topic we are arguing today. We are arguing that they don't meet the common perceptions of people, hence the phrase cracked up to be. I'll bring this up a little more in my speech. Our first speaker talked to you about free-range and organic egg standards, and if the consumer is getting the great deal they think they are. Today, as second speaker, I'll be talking to you about how free-range and organic eggs do not actually benefit the health of the consumer in any way, and how free-range and organic chickens aren't actually being treated as fairly as one might expect. Our third speaker will rebut and summarise our team's case. On to my first point. In this point, I'm going to talk to you about how there is no evidence to suggest that free-range and organic eggs are actually beneficial in any way to the consumer's health. Despite there being a strong belief that chickens who are caged have less healthier eggs than those chickens that aren't, it's simply not the case. In 2010, a study was held and released by the US Department of Agriculture. The study, led by food technologist Deanna Jones, shows that free-range, organic, and caged eggs are all indistinguishable in terms of nutritional value and overall health benefits. To quote Deanna Jones, "We found no meaningful differences at all. We sampled eggs from a number of stores and kept getting the same results over and over. For shoppers, the decision comes down to your ethical and moral choices." Now to my second point. which is about how free-range and organic chickens aren't treated as well as everybody thinks. In an article posted by PETA, otherwise known as the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA Foundation staffer Heather Moore talks about how farms under the label of free-range and organic are treating their chickens almost as poorly as they would be treated on a caged or factory farm. In the article, she states, "They never go outside, breathe fresh air, feel the sun on their backs, or do anything that is natural or important to them." Richard Lobb, the spokesperson for the National Chicken Council, also says this, "If you go to a free-range farm and expect to see a bunch of chickens galloping around in pastures, you're kidding yourself." So, as you can see, the evidence is clearly there, and you can take their word for it. These aren't just some random people stating an opinion, these are professionals with the facts and statistics in their hands. Now, it's still important to note that while treated very poorly, free-range and organic chickens are being raised in far better conditions than caged or factory chickens. However, that is not the topic we are arguing today. We are arguing that they aren't all they're cracked up to be. So while it's still a better solution, they are not actually filling the perception of what people think free-range and organic egg farms look like. Another thing worth noting is the cost of these eggs, which, like our first speaker spoke to you about. However, now that we have more information, I would like to build upon it. People go to the store paying much more money per egg, thinking that it's a better alternative. Morally it is, but in many cases that's not the real reason. People buy free-range and organic eggs not only thinking it's better for the chicken, but they do it thinking it's a healthier option. This comes back to my first point, in which I mentioned that it is proven that there is no difference in the benefit of health. While it is morally right, perhaps it would be better if we simply bought caged eggs. They may be treated worse, but it's not actually that different to the way free-range and organic chickens are being treated. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, free-range and organic eggs aren't all they're cracked up to be, because they don't meet the everyday perception that they are much healthier than caged eggs, in which isn't the case, and that free-range and organic chickens aren't treated as fairly as they are thought to be. Thank you.
I call upon the second negative speaker, Lily Watkins.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of this debate is that free-range and organic eggs aren't all they're cracked up to be, and we, the negative team, believe with all certainty that this statement is false. Our first speaker has already told you about the validity of the claims made in relation to animal welfare. Tonight, I'll be talking about the claims made around the healthiness of free-range and organic eggs, as well as their popularity. But first, I would like to rebut some of the opponent's points. The opposition has stated that a study checking free-range and non-free-range eggs proved that they were equally nutritious. Ladies and gentlemen, I found this study. It uses the whole unit of measurement, which is a measure of how well-formed the egg is, and it does in no way show the nutrition content. The researchers wrongfully believe that the two were the same. As said by Alyssa Malaberti, Director of Egg Product Marketing at the American Egg Board, quote, "It's more of a visual test to gauge the sample quality. It has no bearing on nutritional value at all." Additionally, they state that free-range eggs aren't as good as cage eggs because they are more expensive. Eggs are a very cheap form of protein anyway when compared with lean meat or fish, so why not pay a little extra for eggs produced to a higher ethical standard? Also, looking at the range available on woolworth.com.au, the lowest price for free-range eggs was 60 cents per 100 grams, whereas the lowest cost for cage eggs was 43 cents per 100 grams, just 17 cents less. That's only a difference about 17 cents That's only a difference of about 10 cents per egg. So consumers have a choice as to how they spend their money. Moving on. My first point is that free-range eggs live up to their reputation as being healthier than cage eggs. This This reputation is evident in a survey by CanStar Blue, which found that 86% of people who buy free-range eggs believe that they are better quality. The US Environmental Protection Agency notes that some of the pesticides used in food production may cause a large variety of health problems, and organic eggs are free from any of these potentially harmful chemical residues. Organisations like the Australian Certified Organic Scheme ensure that there are no herbicides or pesticides used on the land of organic farms, and that chicken feed is grown without synthetic agrochemicals. And this is for good reason. Holly Viner, the General Manager of Biological Farms of Australia, stated that, quote, "There are a lot of health issues that have been linked to pesticides in food." End quote. If a human consumes something that contains these pesticides, it could cause problems such as skin irritations, nervous system disruption, hormonal imbalance, or even cancer. To make things worse, the Humane Society of the United States found that cage eggs are twice as likely to have salmonella. Many farmers claim that it is easier to control the spread of germs when chickens are kept in cages, but this is not the case. Chickens are packed together so tightly that the inhalation of fecal dust can often lead to health problems. Additionally, the cages are rarely checked, which means that not only they are unclean, chickens can die in their cages and not have their carcass removed for a long time. Cruelty aside, this is a very unhygienic process of food production. It's no wonder free-range and organic eggs have a good reputation. The lack of hygiene in cage eggs is a serious problem that can't just be overlooked. Additionally, there are claims that organic and free-range eggs are more nutritious, which many people believe. These can also actually be backed up. In a 2007 egg testing program, Mother Earth News compared the nutrient data from commercial eggs with eggs from farms that were both organic and free-range, and found that the latter could typically contain 33% less cholesterol, 25% less saturated fat, 3 times more vitamin E, and 7 times more beta-carotene. Now, to my second point. Many people are responding to the claims made around free-range and organic eggs, and so now it is a commonly held belief that they are actually starting to favour them over cage eggs. This is also backed up with research. According to a survey by CanStar Blue, around 51% of Australians who buy eggs prefer free-range eggs, with the other egg buyers choosing cage eggs, barn-laid eggs, or being unsure. Less than a quarter of those surveyed preferred cage eggs. In fact, in every single state in Australia, free-range eggs were more popular than cage eggs. Additionally, the survey found that 90% of people who buy cage eggs said that they will switch to free-range if they were cheaper, and 84% who buy free-range or organic eggs were happy to make more for them. Many companies are also taking steps to move away from cage eggs. McDonald's Australia, which purchases 91 million eggs per year, has announced it will stop using cage eggs by the end of this year. Subway Australia, Grilled, Coffee Club, KFC, Nando's and the Pancake Parlour have also joined the move to free-range eggs. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, free-range and organic eggs live up to their reputation. It is clear that their reputation is well earned, that their health benefits and popularity are indeed all they've cracked up to be. Thank you.
I call upon the third affirmative speaker, Finn Masterson.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that free-range and organic eggs aren't all they're cracked up to be. We, the affirmative team, believe this statement is true. The first negative speaker has tried to tell you that authorities are to blame for misconceptions and mistreatment of chicken and eggs, and free-range chickens are much better off than their cage counterparts, and that organic eggs are better for the customer. This is wrong because, as she said in her first point about how authorities blame, farmers have a lot of agencies over chickens and eggs and should be not excluded from this debate or this definition, because at the end of the day they have quite a lot of agency over the treatment and collection of eggs and treatment of chickens. On the second statement she made about how free-range chickens are much better off, we're not talking about the benefits of whether we should cage chickens or not. We're talking about the misconceptions surrounding
misconception surrounding supposedly free-range and organic eggs. We are talking about how they are not all they're cracked up to be, as in possibly they're the consumers, and we don't know the full story behind these eggs, and they are hiding some of the true facts. On the third statement she made about how organic eggs are better for the customers, as our second speaker told you about in a study had showed that organic and free-range eggs had been seen on the outside as indistinguishable from caged eggs. The second negative speaker has tried to tell you that non-organic eggs aren't that much, you don't save that much by buying non-organic and caged eggs, just 10 cents per egg, as she said. And she also talked about the negative health impacts on chickens and people when chickens are caged and not treated, and you don't get organic eggs. And they used examples such as dead chickens in cages and unhygienic situations like that. On a statement about you only save 10 cents per eggs, I feel like this is a bit of a misleading statement, because it makes us all think, oh, you only save 10 cents, but it's 10 cents per egg. That's in a 12-pack, that's $1.20, and you might not think that's that much, but if you are buying eggs every day or every week, it adds up. And on a second point about the negative health impacts on people and chickens, we are not arguing about the benefits of caging or non-organic eggs. We are arguing that there are misconceptions surrounding organic and supposedly free-range eggs. And on her example of, like, for instance, the dead chicken in the cage, this is a case basis. This is not, that is something that I believe she has taken from one or two sources, and she has just said it in a way that suggests that it applies to all caged or non-organic eggs, when, as our first and second speaker told you, that free-range chickens themselves might not be that well off. As our first speaker told you, 1 square metre per chicken. Our first speaker has told you about the standards around the free-range organic eggs and how they can be misleading, and how that leads to free-range and organic eggs not being all they're cracked up to be, and that the consumer might not be really getting the great deal they think they are when buying free-range or organic eggs. Our second speaker told you about how free-range and organic eggs don't, he talked about the supposed health benefits around free-range and organic eggs, and how supposedly free-range chickens aren't being treated as well as they should be. So, in conclusion, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we, the Affirmative team, believe that so-called free-range and organic eggs aren't all they're cracked up to be. Thank you.
I call upon the third negative speaker, Kate Crowley.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that free-range and organic eggs aren't all that they're cracked up to be. We, the negative team, strongly believe that these eggs are indeed what they're cracked up to be, offering benefits both to the hens that lay them and the humans who consume them, as the industry states. Before I summarise the points made by our first and second speaker, I would like to address and rebut the key arguments raised by the Affirmative team. The Affirmative team's case is focused on 3 main issues, which were welfare, nutrition, and cost. Their first speaker discussed the fact that people can indeed avoid the system, and therefore chickens aren't getting as many welfare benefits as we believe. The new system may be flawed, but let us consider that before this law, the only limitations were voluntary and could be chosen from state to state. The new laws require egg producers to clearly state their stocking density on the packaging, which will also be checked in the inspections. This new law will make it much harder for farms to circumvent and bludge their way past restrictions. Their first speaker also discussed that free-range and organic eggs don't have as many benefits as we believe.
Arguably, whilst free-range and organic eggs may still not be the most perfect form of production, they're still clearly better than factory farming and battery cages. At least the hens have access to the outdoors, rather than remaining trapped in A4-sized cages without solid flooring and without the ability to even spread their wings for their entire lives. As our first speaker Robin stated, a representative from Compassion in World Farming has stated that free-range chickens have the potential to lead a much happier and better life than their caged counterparts. Organic and free-range chickens are able to socialise and perform natural activities, such as spreading their wings and preening. This clearly shows that there are benefits associated with free-range and organic farming, which is what the industry states. Regardless of how much benefit there truly is to the chicken, there is some form of benefit to them. There are ethical issues with all forms of egg production, indeed with all forms of food production from livestock, but there are far fewer of these problems when it comes to free-range and organic. As our second speaker Lily previously discussed, we strongly believe that it's worth an extra 17 cents per 100 grams to guarantee a hen, at the very least, access to natural light and fresh air, and space of 1 square metre, rather than a life confined indoors. In relation to organic eggs, all organic food is more expensive than its non-organic counterpart, as production of organic food is naturally more expensive. Pardon the pun, but organic eggs are no exception. Their second speaker then discussed that there is almost no difference. The key word is almost. Whilst it may not be the idyllic scene of chickens frolicking in the fields, they still get treated better than caged chickens. The benefit is there, and whilst it may not be as major, the industry simply states that there is a benefit, which there is. Their third speaker discussed that we aren't talking about morals. However, we were not discussing this either. We were simply showing examples of how these eggs are what they're cracked up to be. The opposition also told you that free-range and organic farms are not what they're cracked up to be, as they don't tell what is the general perception of them. However, in our definition that the opposition failed to oppose, we stated cracked up to be as meaning that by professionals who consider the fact, including farmers in the egg industry. Their second speaker discussed that nutritional value isn't there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is false. Whilst the nutritional difference between free-range and organic eggs and cage eggs may be small, there's no denying that it's there. Multiple studies have shown that organic eggs are free from some of the more harmful additives in our food, thanks to their pesticide-free regime. As our second speaker discussed, there are many other benefits that organic and free-range eggs can bring, such as reduced levels of cholesterol and saturated fats, increased level of vitamin A and omega-3 fatty acids. Overall, these eggs do have some form of nutritional benefit when compared with cage eggs. Turning now to a brief summary of our team's case, our first speaker, Robin, outlined the claims that are made for free-range or organic eggs by the egg industry and other key stakeholders, and then discussed the welfare benefits of free-range and organic farming methods for layer hens. Our second speaker, Lily, discussed the benefits to consumers of eating free-range or organic eggs rather than eggs from battery hens, and discussed the need for increased production of free-range eggs at an affordable cost to meet increased market demand. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we strongly believe that free-range and organic eggs are what they're cracked up to be, as they offer measurable benefits both from hens and consumers at a reasonable price. Yes, the standards imposed by the Australian government for labelling eggs as free-range aren't ideal, but with the new requirement to disclose stocking densities being imposed, there'll be very strong incentives for producers to reduce their stocking densities over time without pricing many consumers out of buying free-range eggs. The benefit to hens and consumers will only increase as these regulations take full effect. Thank you and good night.